Black liberation as universal technology. This is why the world needs Black artists to remember their spiritual truth. By Starboi Quazarz. There's a question circulating in Black cultural discourse right now. What is Black culture doing positively for Black people? The implication being that we need to change our culture, fix it, redirect it toward more productive ends. But this question misses the point entirely. The real question, the one that unlocks everything, is this. What happens when Black artists forget their spiritual truth? And what happens when they remember? Because if you study history with clear eyes, you'll see a pattern that changes how you understand not just Black culture, but human culture itself. Let's start at the beginning. The entertainment industry, Hollywood, the music business, media corporations began as a mediocrity of talent, raw, spiritual, authentic. People created from source and audiences recognized truth when they encountered it. But the gatekeepers learned something dangerous. Talent connected to spiritual truth cannot be controlled. So the game changed. It became more about connections, about playing by their rules, about fitting into predetermined boxes. Because public opinion can be swayed, marketing can be manipulated, but genuine spiritual creativity, that's unpredictable. Therefore, that threatens the power structure. And Black artists carrying the weight of ancestral trauma, systematic oppression, and the very real historical consequences of visibility internalized this shift. We started asking ourselves, am I too much, too passionate, too Black, too spiritual? Will they understand me? Will they accept me? Will I be safe? We started creating for external validation instead of internal truth. And when artists forget the spiritual and create for the external, a predictable cycle begins. The corruption cycle. 1. Artists create for external validation, industry, algorithm approval. 2. Industry gatekeeps based on profitability, not truth. 3. Community internalizes gatekeeping, polices itself. 4. Culture becomes shallow, disconnected from source. 5. Society becomes corrupt, driven by capitalism over consciousness. And 6. Humanity suffers, disconnected from spiritual truth. This isn't just a Black artist problem. This is a human problem. But Black artists carry the medicine for it. There's another pattern moving through history, and it's been hiding in plain sight. Every time Black artists create fearlessly from spiritual truth, and every time their community supports that creation instead of policing it, culture itself transforms. Not just Black culture, human culture. Let me show you the pattern. Sun Ra, the 1950s, Chicago, a Black jazz musician hands out pamphlets in the park claiming he's from Saturn, here to awaken human consciousness through cosmic music. The industry said too weird. The respectable Black middle class said too embarrassing. But Sun Ra created anyway, fearlessly, spiritually, and he built the orchestra, a community of cosmic creators who supported each other's spiritual truth. What happened? Sun Ra didn't just influence jazz. He birthed Afrofuturism as a philosophical framework. He gave permission for artists across all genres, all races, to be cosmically expansive. His spiritual fearlessness liberated consciousness itself. Nina Simone could have been just another jazz vocalist, but she remembered her spiritual assignment. Mississippi, goddamn, to be young, gifted, and Black. Music that made white America uncomfortable. Music that the Black bourgeoisie said was too radical. But Nina created from truth. And that truth didn't just free Black people from mental colonization, it freed consciousness from the lie that art and activism are separate, that the spiritual and political are separate, that your voice and your power are separate. Prince could have played the industry game, could have let Warner Brothers own his masters, could have created what was commercial and safe. But Prince remembered I'm not an artist. I am art. He fought for ownership, for creative control, for spiritual authenticity. He wrote slave on his face, not as victimhood, but as revelation. And when he won his freedom, he didn't just liberate himself. He showed every artist, regardless of race, genre, or industry, what sovereignty really looks like. You see the pattern? The liberation cycle. 1. Artists remember spiritual truth, their cosmic assignment. 2. Creates fearlessly from source, unbothered by external opinion. 3. Community supports instead of cancels, elevates instead of polices. 4. Culture transforms, reconnects to spiritual foundation. 5. Society shifts, remembers that creation is sacred. Humanity evolves, consciousness expands. The revelation. Here's the part that changed everything for me when I finally understood it. Black liberation has always been the template for human liberation. I'm going to say that again. Black liberation has always been the template for human liberation. Not because black people are inherently better or special, but because when you're the most oppressed, when you carry the deepest ancestral trauma, and when you've been systematically stripped of land, language, family, identity, and dignity, when you remember your divine nature, when you stand tall with your head held high, when you create fearlessly from source, despite every external force telling you to play small, you give permission for everyone to do the same. This is why every major human liberation movement studies the Black freedom struggle. Why labor rights movements learn from civil rights movements. Why the LGBTQ plus liberation borrowed from Black power aesthetics and tactics. Why indigenous sovereignty movements collaborate with Black liberation theology. Not appropriation, recognition. Recognition that when the most oppressed people remember their power, they crack open the ceiling for everyone underneath it. Black liberation, Black spiritual creativity, the spirituals, jazz, blues, hip-hop, Afrofuturism has always been the frequency that wakes people up. The reminder that we are more than what the system tells us we are. We're not just workers, not just consumers, not just demographics. We're divine co-creators, and we've temporarily forgotten. So what do we do with this understanding? This is where Afrofuturism becomes more than aesthetic, more than sci-fi imagery and cosmic soundscapes. Afrofuturism is technology for collective liberation. The practice is simple but profound. Imagine Black liberation in the future so vividly that it becomes inevitable in the present. Not waiting for the future to arrive, not hoping things get better someday, but embodying that liberated future right now. So when you create as if Black people are already free, already sovereign, already connected to source, you're not escaping reality, you're constructing it. Because here's the metaphysical truth that quantum physics is just now catching up to. Consciousness creates reality. What you imagine consistently becomes what you experience eventually. The slave masters understood this. That's why they outlawed drones, literacy, gathering. They knew that if enslaved Africans could imagine freedom, they would become free. So they tried to kill the imagination. But they failed because we kept imagining in spirituals, in jazz, in the blues, in hip-hop, and Afrofuturism. We've been practicing liberation technology for 400 years. We just forgot we were doing it. But here's what nobody tells you about embodiment. You cannot do it alone. Swimming against the current by yourself, you'll drown. Creating fearlessly in isolation while the whole culture says play small, be safe. Don't be too much, you'll break. This is where community becomes essential. Imagine if instead of cancel culture, we cultivated creation culture. Instead of tearing each other down for imperfection, we supported each other's spiritual truth. Even when it's messy, even when it challenges us, even when it makes us uncomfortable. Instead of competing to outcapitalize each other, we co-created for collective liberation. What would happen then? Black artists would create fearlessly, knowing their community has their back, knowing that vulnerability is valued over performance, knowing that spiritual truth matters more than algorithmic approval. Black culture would elevate, demonstrating to the world what's possible when you honor the sacred instead of chasing the profitable, when you create from source instead of creating for likes. Other cultures will witness this elevation and recognize, oh, that's what we've been missing. That's the medicine. Society itself would transform, not through legislation, not through force, but through culture. Through a critical mass of people remembering that we're spiritual beings having a material experience, not the reverse. This isn't utopian fantasy. This is pattern recognition. Every culture, renaissance, and human history has followed this exact sequence. Artists remember spiritual truth, communities support fearless creation, culture transforms, thus, society evolves. The Harlem Renaissance, the Black Arts Movement, hip-hop's golden era. These weren't accidents. They were moments when enough Black artists created fearlessly from spiritual truth and enough of the community said, yes, this, instead of no, that's too much. We're at an inflection point right now. The dominant culture is spiritually bankrupt. Capitalism has separated us from source, from each other, from the earth. The algorithm has replaced the altar. Metrics have replaced meaning. And into this void, Black artists are being asked to perform, to create content, to go viral, to monetize our trauma, to be respectable, to be safe. But what if we remembered? What if we remembered that we're not here to perform for the algorithm? We're here to transmit frequency, to wake people up, to remind humanity of its divine nature. What if Black community remember that our role isn't to police each other into respectability? Our role is to protect and amplify our artists' spiritual truth, to create the safe container where fearless creation is possible. What if the broader culture remembered that Black liberation isn't a threat? It's a template, a demonstration of what becomes possible when you stop creating for them and start creating from truth. This is why I took on the Afrofuturist identity. Not to separate, not to exclude, not to say this is only for Black people, but to declare Black people will be empowered in the future. We're imagining it right now. We're embodying it together. And when we rise, we're taking humanity with us. Because that's what our ancestors did. That's what the spirituals did. That's what jazz did. That's what hip hop did. That's what Afrofuturism does. Black spiritual creativity has always been the medicine, the reminder, the frequency transmission that says, you are more than what they told you. You are divine. You are a co-creator. And it's time to remember. So here's what I'm inviting. This is what I'm proposing. If you're a Black artist, remember your spiritual truth. Create fearlessly from source. Stop asking if it's too much, if it's exactly enough. Find your community and let them hold you. Your liberation is universal liberation. If you're Black in community, support fearless creation, even when it challenges you. Choose elevation over cancellation. Protect your artist's spiritual truth. Build containers where vulnerability is safe. Remember, culture changes when we change. If you're a non-Black ally, Recognize that Black liberation benefits you too. Don't appropriate, appreciate, and support. When Black people rise, you get to rise too. The ceiling we crack is the ceiling over everyone. If you're anyone who believes that the spiritual and material are connected, that creativity is sacred, not just content, that we're here to create a more beautiful world, the imagination is the most powerful technology we have. Join us. Because the future isn't something that happens to us. The future is something we imagine into being together, starting now. The question was never, what is Black culture doing positively for Black people? The question is, are we ready to remember that we're all divine co-creators and we are brave enough to support each other in that remembering? Everything depends on how we answer.